was one night on security patrol, and I went into the galley to get myself a cup of coffee. When up at the top of the stairs behind me, I saw an apparition. I can only assume that it was a French naval officer in light blue uniform. It didn't frighten me, it didn't make me scared or anything. I said hello to it and he just faded. I can only assume that this is one of the French naval officers that were incarcerated here in the hospital. Another strange happening in the club was that the dogs belonging to members of the club used to be no more than a couple of inches from the heels of their owners. It seemed to be that dogs are more sensitive to the spirit world than we are.
There we were in the Irish Sea on the Monday morning at 9 o'clock. We were off Land's End and the mainsail was just flogging backwards and forwards, not a breath of wind. By 9 o'clock that night we'd gone through spinnaker, number 1 Genoa, number 2 Genoa, number 3, number 4, down to storm jib. The boat was full of canvas and eventually we ended up lying a hull, that's lashing the helm right down to leeward and trying to see it out. But the trouble is we were in 48-foot waves and no wind in the trough, but 65 knots on the crest. And sitting down below in these 48-foot waves, looking at the fittings that I'd designed and made and looking at the hull that four of us had lifted up and turned it up the right way, was quite an experience. And eventually the ribs at the forward end started popping out of the beam shelf and the forward footing was panting quite rapidly in the big seas, and we just slowed right down and flares were going off all around us. Harry Adney was to leeward of us off the lee quarter and 2 flares went up, and sure enough after the race we found that he'd lost 2 men. But you couldn't turn down those waves, you would have just pitch poled, just had to stay beam onto it, you know. But then we drifted, we were only 43 miles from the rock at the time, and we drifted due east at 3 knots, and eventually we came off the gas rigs off of Cork entrance, and we then motored in. We saw a lifeboat, an Irish lifeboat, come alongside another boat, throw them a rope, and then realised that the rope wasn't attached to the lifeboat, so the lifeboat drove off and there was just the rope hanging in the water. But we ended up in Crosshaven on the Wednesday morning at 4 o'clock in the morning, 20 past 4 in the morning, and we found a pub open at 20 past 4 in the morning, and went in there, and the landlord said, get the rest of the crew, get the rest of the crew. So we ended up with 6 Irish coffees on the bar. And when I said to him, after we'd finished drinking, I said, excuse me landlord, what would you like to drink? He said, I'm sorry sir, we're closed. And another 6 Irish coffees came up. But yeah, we slept in his house for about 2 days and then caught an aeroplane back. Some people abandoned boats before the boats were going down, and I'd sooner be on a boat full of water than I would a rubber dinghy. At least on the boat you've got a bilge pump and tools, but they got into dinghies, and yeah, it was an amazing experience, but not something that you want to go through every day.
Lugger. The Nutty Knotters are the International Guild of Knot Tyers. It was formed several years ago by Geoffrey Butterworth and several other people because they found that knots were disappearing. Cordage is changing.
Yes, they've both got a handful of these, and they're instructed to put one up in their kitchens, but to report back. And knotting matters should.
Talking about a similar knot, and then I started playing about with it. Absolute rubbish, because as soon as you release tension on it, it slips off the spar.
I've been tying knots since I was 6. I saw the knots and I thought, I know how they work. And it's stayed with me ever since. At the age of 6, I've been fascinated by how you can do things with bits of string. And I would rather tidy up all the string in someone's kitchen drawer than I would mow the lawn.
I'm going to do the sheet bend. Right, piece of rope, form the loop, do a half hitch on the top end of it, and pull it tight. On the bottom end you do the same half hitch. Right, that is a knot, and it is used for shortening a rope where you don't want to tie a knot in it.
To me, the most difficult knot was called the chevron knot, which I saw in March, and it took me till October to get 2 men to train me how to tie it, which is a 2-strand lanyard knot, which I proudly got upstairs and can't show the camera.
This knot is the constrictor knot. It is a binding knot, and it's made very simply by just doing that, twisting your fingers like that, and it then secures a number of ropes like this. And if I now pull on both ends, it will tie a knot which, if it's tied tight enough, you probably can't undo it. Okay.
And I'm going to make a rolling hitch, round and round and round and round, and once more round and through itself, and that holds really tight without slipping, and that's a rolling hitch.
This is the flying bowline, otherwise known as the angler's loop, and it earns you a pint in any yacht club.
Well, the Fareham Lugger, it's about 10 foot 10 overall, about the same as a mirror dinghy. It was originally, the original concept was that it was a convenient boat that the cruiser owners could tow behind as a tender, but when they weren't out cruising, it was a good little boat to sail, motor, row around the harbour for a bit of sport. We originally got the hulls from Dorado Boats in Emsworth. Eventually we got our own mould and started moulding our own. But I suppose it's a class unique to Fareham now. I suppose it's been going now, must be going for 20-25 years, I would think. It's a bit of a handful to sail, been a dipping lug sail. It's not like sailing a normal Bermudan rig, but it's good fun. It's good fun. Yeah, they've got a wooden centreboard, which is all very well until you got a half tide and getting too close to the shore, and it'll throw you over the bows as the centreboard digs in the mud. But we occasionally break a centreboard, not very often though. They've got very important to our sailing club, and they're a popular sight now on weekends and very often Wednesday evenings in the summer. It's a unique class, but we have sailed them elsewhere by towing them behind our cruiser, and I've been up the Yar and up the Lymington River and places like that with it, which draws a bit of attention. I would think now we've probably got about 30 luggers active here. There's more than that being built. There's probably 50-60 being built, but over the years some have been sold on, members have left the club, but we've still got a very strong class.